The ghost ship. The emergency lights pulsed in sickly red intervals, casting long shadows across the twisted corridors of the Irexis. Metal groaned like a dying creature, and the stale air carried the scent of scorched circuitry and old blood. Ava Monroe opened her eyes to the chaos, coughing through the smoke that hung low like mist. Her helmet had cracked. One gloved hand reached to seal it, fingers fumbling, vision blurred. Alarms screamed faintly, her ears still ringing from the blast that had rocked the ship hours ago. Maybe more. She tried to stand, but collapsed against the wall. Her body was weak, bruised, and her suit was running on fumes. Somewhere down the corridor, something sparked, then went dark. She wasn't supposed to be here. Ava staggered to her feet, eyes scanning the ruined bulkhead. There was no sign of the evac shuttle, no friendly signals, no extraction beacon, just silence. They left me. She didn't want to believe it at first. Surely someone would come back. Surely Command would realize she was still aboard. But deep in her gut, she knew the truth. She'd been abandoned, left behind, disposable. Ava limped toward the engineering deck, the only place she might find power, tools, maybe even oxygen. Her hands traced along the wall for support as she whispered to herself. No one's coming, so I fix a ship. I fix the damn ship. It took her an hour to pry open the service hatch into the core bay. The lights were out. The backup generator hummed with a low whine. She tapped into the console, rerouted minimal power, and activated the emergency reactor startup. A flicker of light, a whisper of static, then a voice. Unit designated, human. Identity match, Lieutenant Ava Monroe. Ship status, catastrophic failure. AI core, fragmented. Initiating low-power interface. Ava blinked. The voice was mechanical, deep, aged but operational. "Who are you?" she asked hoarsely. "I'm REX. Reactive Exosystem Intelligence. Last operational core of the Irexis. You're not authorized." "Well, REX," Ava said, coughing. "You're in worse shape than I am. And right now, I'm the only one who can put either of us back together." A pause. Acknowledged. Temporary engineering override granted. Ava smiled despite herself. Goodbye. The next few days blurred into a cycle of pain, effort, and obsession. She found food rations in a half-collapsed storage bay, recycled and refiltered stale water. Her bed was a repurposed emergency crate, and her heater was a jury-rigged plasma coil. She set up a makeshift repair station. The hull was punctured in 17 places. The FTL drive was gutted. The internal systems were fried. And yet, Ava saw potential. She scavenged power conduits from fighter wrecks in the hangar, reprogrammed drone cores for automated welding, cannibalized weapons modules from the ship's buried armory. Her hands bled. Her voice cracked from talking to herself and REX. But the ship responded. Slowly, piece by piece, it began to breathe again. "You are restoring ancient subsystems beyond human understanding," REX said during a midnight repair cycle. Ava smirked. "I'm not here to understand them. I'm here to make them work." Rex was learning too, patching his fragmented consciousness through human-made processors. He started calling her Captain. At first, it was sarcasm. It became habit. She didn't mind. What had once been a derelict wreck floating near a forgotten nebula was now something more. It wasn't just alive, it was evolving. Ava wasn't just fixing a ship. She was building a message. By the end of the second week, Ava sat in the command chair, still scorched, still crooked, but hers. Her eyes scanned the blinking consoles, status lights, and newly integrated interface. "REX," she said quietly, "you think they expected me to die out here? Probability, 98.7%. Your survival is an anomaly." She grinned. "Let's make a legend. One human, one ship, one mission." The Irexis had a heartbeat now. Not literal, but the rhythmic thrum of energy pulses rippling through its ancient veins felt alive to Ava Monroe. She sat cross-legged in the engine core, a tangle of wires in her lap, and a fusion welder in her hands. Grease smudged her cheek. Her uniform was little more than ash-stained cloth now. Around her, holographic readouts flickered to life one by one. Subsystems that hadn't activated in decades now responded to her touch. Cooling ducts, power regulators, and inertial dampeners all whispered back into operation. She was turning a ghost into a machine of war. REX, bring up the diagnostic on the aft plating. I need to reroute power through the port side shield array. Warning, external armor at 21% integrity. Power rerouting will destabilize thermal containment by 12%. I know, Ava muttered, tightening a bolt with a grunt. Do it anyway. A pause. Processing. Confirmed. Ava had learned quickly that the ship's original systems weren't just advanced, they were alive. Designed by a long-dead race of engineers who embedded adaptive quantum protocols into everything. That meant traditional repair manuals were useless. But Ava didn't need them. She had instinct, intuition, creativity. What the aliens built as rigid and unbending, she reprogrammed to bend. What they abandoned, she reimagined. And the results spoke for themselves. In just under 2 weeks, Ava had restored life support, rebuilt the hydroponics bay into a protein processor, and fused human-designed grav drives into the alien propulsion system. She even discovered a forgotten fabrication unit, half buried in debris, and retooled it to produce hybrid weapons, blasters with human recoil dampeners and alien plasma capacitors. Rex had stopped questioning her choices days ago. Now he just learned. Captain, the AI said through a nearby panel, your modifications are 71% complete. May I ask a question? You just did. What is your objective? Ava paused, hands still. The question hung in the air, heavier than the ship's artificial gravity. For a moment, she considered lying, saying survival, saying escape. But she didn't come this far to run. I was thrown away, she said finally, by my own people, and the ones who left me behind. They think I was weak, easy to write off. They thought I wouldn't matter in the end. She stood, brushing dust from her hands. I want them to see what they discarded. I want them to look up into the sky and realize the mistake they made. I'm not going back in a rescue pod. I'm going back in this. Understood. Objective logged. Return. Display. Demonstrate. Ava almost laughed. You sound like a mission statement. I learned from the best, Captain. Later that day, while repairing the navigation array, Ava found something unexpected, an encrypted package buried deep in the Irexis's memory. A black box. It took hours of decryption using a patched-together neural interface, but eventually it opened. A hologram played, grainy and distorted, but clear enough. A human admiral, her own commanding officer. We can't risk recovery. If Monroe's still on board, she's a liability. One engineer is not worth the time or fuel. Then another voice, alien, sharp and cold. We agree. Human loyalty to individuals is inefficient. Leave her. If she dies, so be it. The hologram ended. Ava sat in silence for a long time. Not from shock. She'd already known, but from the validation. They hadn't just left her. They chose to. She stood and walked slowly to the main viewport. Stars glittered across the void. Somewhere out there, the ones who abandoned her were still flying, still giving orders, still blind to the storm they'd created. REX, she said quietly, ready the engines. Destination? She turned to the command console and punched in coordinates. Earth's Edge Sector. The Galactic Assembly Citadel. Her former fleet command. Home. Engines at 72% efficiency. Jump capability partially restored. She smiled. That's good enough. The deck rumbled. Energy surged. And for the first time in decades, the Irexis, reborn, refitted, and renamed Revenant, lurched forward under its own power. A ghost no more. Return of the ghost. The Revenant tore through slipspace like a blade through silk. It wasn't fast, not compared to modern military vessels, but it was quiet. Invisible to most scanners, thanks to Ava's clever splicing of human stealth algorithms into the alien phase baffles. The ship moved like a shadow. No pulse signature. No identifiable warp trail. Perfect for making an entrance. REX, Ava said from the captain's chair. Pull us out. Sector X-12. Exiting slipspace in 5, 4. The Starlines collapsed around them, and the Revenant reappeared at the edge of the Nithis belt. Uncharted space, deep in disputed territory. Before them floated a cluster of 5 ships, battle-worn cruisers, mismatched designs, and weakly shielded. Pirates, smugglers, scavengers, targets. Ava narrowed her eyes. She wasn't here for blood, but demonstration required performance. Scan them. 2 human, 3 alien vessels. All armed. No IFF beacons broadcasting. Standard ambush formation. They think I'm prey. Correction. They thought you were prey. She smiled. Let's show them what happens when ghosts bite back. They hailed her first. A garbled signal crackled through. Unmarked vessel. Power down and prepare for boarding. We're feeling generous today. Don't waste it. Ava muted the channel and leaned back. REX, power up forward plasma array. Begin target lock on their lead cruiser. Primary weapon array. Online. Target locked. One shot. A glowing beam of violet plasma carved through the void like lightning. Silent and instant. The lead cruiser didn't explode. It ceased to exist. The other ships scrambled, engines igniting, alarms blaring. Broadcast this, Ava said, standing tall. Make sure everyone hears it. Her voice crackled through every channel in the region, translated automatically into every known language. This is Captain Ava Monroe of the warship Revenant. I was abandoned, forgotten, left for dead. I survived. I rebuilt. And I'm coming home. The remaining pirate ships turned and fled, engines screaming into FTL. Ava didn't pursue. She didn't need to. Word would spread faster than any weapon. Hours later, deep within the Confederation communications net, a low-level analyst picked up the broadcast. She routed it up the chain. In less than a day, the video was played on command decks across the quadrant. Admirals stared in stunned silence. Ambassadors watched, pale-faced. Human command staff sat motionless as the image of Ava Monroe, standing on a fully armed, impossibly upgraded warship, flickered on the screen, her eyes burning with cold fire. She's supposed to be dead, someone whispered. In the Admiralty Tower of the Galactic Assembly Citadel, Fleet Admiral Juno Cross listened to the report in silence. She recognized the voice in the broadcast. She remembered signing the order to leave Ava behind. She was a liability, Juno muttered, voice tight. A gifted one, yes, but volatile. Disruptive. Ma'am, her aide said slowly, she's taken down 3 raider fleets in the last 48 hours. There's footage. The ship's weaponry is decades ahead of anything we have. Juno didn't answer immediately. She stared out at the starfield through the tower's glass wall. Bring in the diplomatic corps, she said finally, and prepare a formal message of reconciliation. Back aboard the Revenant, Ava watched it all unfold. Rex had tapped into unsecured channels with ease. She'd seen the shock, the scrambling, the fear. Good. Let them feel it. Captain, REX said, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Ava exhaled. Play it. Juno Cross appeared on screen, her face a mask of control. Behind her, military banners and the seal of the Assembly. Lieutenant Monroe. Ava, we acknowledge your survival and commend your resourcefulness. The Assembly would like to invite you to dock at Citadel Prime. You have our full support and protection. Welcome home. The screen went dark. Ava stared at the empty void. She could go. She could land. She could shake their hands, accept their medals, and be a story of redemption. But that wasn't her story. She turned to REX. Plot a course past Citadel Prime. Low flyover. Acknowledged. Public flyby. Trajectory calculated. ETA 16 hours. Make it dramatic. Naturally. She stood, hand resting on the cold, humming wall of her ship. She wasn't their tool. She wasn't their survivor. She was a warning. Judgment docking. The Revenant emerged from the dark side of the moon, casting a massive silhouette over the Galactic Assembly Citadel. 10 kilometers long, sleek and dark with streaks of glowing alien blue energy. The once dead warship now moved like a predator. Crowds on the Citadel's viewing platforms gasped as it drifted into full view, flanked by nothing but silence. No escort, no diplomatic shuttle, just presence. On the command deck, Ava Monroe stood in full gear, her once tattered uniform replaced with a functional hybrid exosuit, part human, part alien, entirely hers. Her hair was pulled back in a tight braid. Her eyes were hard steel. "REX," she said quietly. "Open broadcast. Public channel. No encryption. All ears are listening, Captain." She stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp as broken glass. "This is Ava Monroe of the Revenant. I do not come in peace. I do not come in war. I come as evidence. Evidence of what happens when you discard your own. I was abandoned on a derelict warship, left to die, but I lived, and I made that derelict mine." A hush fell over the Citadel. The message echoed in hangars, homes, command centers, and assembly halls. To every engineer dismissed as replaceable. To every soldier left behind in the name of strategy. "I'm not your hero. I am your proof. And I am not here to forgive." She cut the feed. Inside the Assembly's war chamber, chaos erupted. "She's a threat to galactic unity. She's acting alone. We can offer her a fleet, a title, or we silence her. Quietly, before this becomes a movement." Fleet Admiral Juno Cross sat unmoving at the table. Her face was pale. "She's already become a movement," she said. "Killing her now would prove her right." The others fell silent. Above the station, the Citadel's defense grid lit up. Hundreds of guns rotated to face the Revenant. Ava watched them from her command chair. "REX," she said. "What's the firing solution?" "They could breach our outer hull. We'd be venting atmosphere in 5 minutes." She nodded. "And them? We could breach their core in 5 seconds." She leaned forward. "Let's play a game of chicken." On the Citadel's tactical deck, alarms blared. "She's charging weapons." Juno slammed her fist on the table. "Stand down. Do not fire. She's aiming at our fuel stacks. She won't fire unless we do." Juno shouted. "And if we fire first, we write our own obituary in history." The tension crackled like a live wire. Then the Revenant powered down its main cannon. Ava's voice returned to private channel. This was never about destruction. This was about being seen. Hours later, a single civilian shuttle launched from the Citadel. Inside was Juno Cross, alone, unarmed. She docked with the Revenant. No guards. No protocol. When she stepped onto the warship, she found Ava waiting in silence at the hangar bay. Neither woman spoke for a long time. Finally, Juno said, "You made your point." Ava folded her arms. "No, you made my point. Years ago, when you left me behind. I signed the order," Juno admitted. "I regret it." "Regret is cheap," Ava said. "Try accountability." Juno looked around the massive hangar, at the alien walls stitched with human design, at the lights glowing with hybrid brilliance. "You could rule with this ship. You could lead a rebellion." "I could," Ava agreed. "But I won't." "Why not?" Ava stepped closer, eyes burning. "Because that would make me just like you." Juno left the Revenant in silence. She returned to the assembly floor and resigned the next day. In the weeks that followed, Ava became legend. Not for war, not for conquest, but because she showed what one forgotten human could do with nothing but intellect, stubbornness, and rage. Her story spread across colonies and sectors, whispered by outcasts, engineers, and survivors. The Revenant was never seen near Earth again. Some say she went to uncharted space, taking justice to pirates and slavers. Others say she built something bigger, a place where no one is left behind. Only one thing was certain. They abandoned a human engineer on a dying warship. She came back with a throne of fire beneath her feet and never bowed to anyone again.